conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
Hey, you're the man, dude!
If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? It almost creates thought patterns that are not necessarily wholesome.
He was an internet influencer. He was a meme. He was a soundbiter.
Charlie Kirk was the opposite of hateful. He wanted to talk to everybody about everything.
His views on social issues were absolutely at the right of extreme conservative thought in the United States.
Counting or not counting gang violence? Great.
He's shot dead in Utah. His killing sparked reaction across the US and around the world. But how did his journey begin?
Charlie was a character in high school. He had a lot of opinions.
The man is the leader of the household. The man is the leader of all the financial decisions.
And we need to have more courage.
What shaped his views?
Debate the issues and get people involved.
The core beliefs that he mentioned almost all the time really were, faith and a faith in God and loving America.
A lot of it was hateful, a lot of it was dehumanizing, a lot of it was bigoted towards marginalized and vulnerable communities and populations.
How did he become one of the most important right-wing influencers in the US?
It was a pretty quiet neighborhood. We weren't the type all running around causing a ruckus or anything like that. More just having conversations. Charlie was, more than anything, he was a dreamer.
The Chicago suburbs where Charlie Kirk grew up.
I've known the Kirks pretty well my whole life. Charlie and I were high school football teammates. Countless great memories with Charlie. Someone who would always look after me, make sure I was doing all right as a younger kid on the team. Led by example in the locker room, in the weight room, working hard, setting the right example for his teammates to follow.
Charlie was definitely someone who had a grandiose personality and was always somebody who had an oozing sense of ambition and purpose that you sort of picked up on as soon as you met him.
Charlie was a character in high school. He had a lot of opinions, but not in an antagonistic or forceful way. I'm sure that there were people that didn't love some or all of those opinions, but at the end of the day, he was a total goofball, right? He had a great sense of humor. He wasn't this divisive character in the halls of our high school. He was pretty much universally respected, if not liked.
Heavenly Father, we know there are no accidents in your plans, even if we do not understand them. Why someone of that age should die. But we take comfort knowing that you will care for his family, his children. We pray for them. Amen.
This is a continually growing, developing memorial to Charlie Kirk that allows people to come out and express their anguish and sorrow over his death, his murder. We've had a steady stream of people coming up, all ages, but we also had a car drive up on us and a gentleman got out yelling, "Nazis, we're glad he got killed."
Definitely the division is loud here, yeah.
He led a campaign at our high school called Students Against Cookie Inflation, because the cafeteria had raised the price of fresh-baked, warm, melted cookies from, I think, 25 cents to 50 cents. And that was 100% inflation, and Charlie would not stand for that.
We sort of collaborated and created t-shirts and organized different events like at football games, and we put pressure on the district, and they eventually changed their food service provider so that they could reduce prices back down to 25 cents. And then after we kind of had that first sweet taste of victory, We're looking for other ways that we could get engaged and other causes that we could take on. And I think that even when we were really only talking about the cookie conversation, he always had like an ambition and an ideal that it would be some type of larger than life movement.
Charlie Kirk met a local retired businessman, and this man, Bill Montgomery, convinced him that he needed to get into activism in a big way. And together they formed Turning Point.
And I had messaged him to get some Chipotle with him, as it was our tradition, before he left for college. And he messaged me and he goes, "Oh, I just realized I never told you. I'm not going to Baylor anymore. I'm starting this organization called Turning Point USA. You know, that's my dream, and I really want to chase it." And you know, I was reading back through this literally just the other night, and I go, you know, make it happen.
And we need to have more courage, get out into the public square, debate the issues, and get people involved.
Turning Point, its mission was to engage young people in the civic discourse and draw them toward more conservative ideals. At the time when I first got to meet him, he was 18 years old, I was 17, and in a sense he was a little bit of a big brother to me. He had spent a little more time active in the local political scene. There were perhaps 6 or 7, maybe a dozen interns, volunteers, and no one was being paid. It was a shoestring budget that allowed for gas and maybe some Starbucks if we had the extra dollars laying around.
He wrote a story for Breitbart News, which at the time was a key node in the online right and the conservative movement. That was picked up by conservatives, and it led to an appearance on Fox News.
When we graduate from high school this coming June, we're handed a diploma. That's also an invoice for hundreds of thousands of dollars that my generation's gonna have to pay off through interest, high taxes, and a stagnant economy.
Apparently, from then on, got a taste for the limelight and a taste for political activism and organizing.
The social media footprint was something that we knew we had to have. In those early years, there was a Facebook page, there was a Twitter account.
Charlie is sounding the alarm, and he's letting young voters know through these memes, as they're known. He's posting them on things like Facebook and Twitter.
In many ways, Charlie Kirk created the blueprint for a new type of political activist and influencer who was reaching people in the spaces that they are.
It was made for the social media age. They would hold public events. They would encourage debates. They would put clips of these debates online and build social media presence on a variety of platforms.
Most important question, what is a woman?
Obviously, very anti-trans.
No, I'm pro-reality.
Okay.
Like
Are you married?
Yes, with 2 beautiful children.
Wow, good for you.
He could debate probably anyone on any of the founding fathers, the founding documents, any concept in our American history. He could debate and destroy anyone because he studied it so much.
Do you believe that the 14th Amendment as well only applies to U.S. citizens?
Again, in a limited scope, yes. The Supreme Court has said that there is no due process rights for illegal aliens that have come within 100 miles of the southern border or 2 weeks of entry. That's a 2019 decision based on expedited removal.
We know that the recommendation systems on the social media sites essentially push content that will get eyeballs, that will get clicks. And that kind of content tends to be emotive. It might make you angry, you might completely agree with it, it might make you happy, it might make you feel upset. But his content was so good at doing that.
Self-defense is very warranted.
Exactly, right?
But
And I think young people appreciated that in a political landscape where everyone is so plastic and very, very structured. Charlie would be willing to engage on any topic.
I noticed you're wearing an American Lives Matter shirt. What is your message to this audience right now by wearing that t-shirt?
Well, I think that we should put Americans above foreigners.
This is more about where we are, what phenomenon we are in, what moment we are in. We're in soundbite moments, and Charlie Kirk represents them. He's very strong about it as well.
He was willing to take part in those debates and to engage, but ultimately the outcome of them wasn't to change his mind, or often the people asking him the questions to change their minds. It was to be adversaries. And I think that this style of debate and discussion is absolutely a product of a social media world where there's no point in suddenly saying, oh, actually, maybe we agree with each other. That's not going to get any views or clicks.
Thank you for proving my point for me.
No,
I love this.
It's the exact opposite.
Charlie Kirk was my ideological opponent, and we had debated one another on multiple occasions.
You really front-loaded your argument. You basically threw out all your opinions out there. But
He would cut these clip compilations that I think we are all too familiar with by now. This is not new or unique to Charlie Kirk. This is just something that everybody does, and they masquerade this medium as though it's one to earnestly pursue the truth.
He had a vision for building a very large grassroots youth political movement, and he was able to communicate that vision and excite other people, his peers, to join him and be part of that cause.
hey, you're the man, dude!
The core beliefs that he mentioned almost all the time really were, faith and a faith in God and loving America.
Grace is not earned, it is given by a God who loves you and wants to spend eternity with you.
His views on social issues were absolutely at the right of extreme conservative thought in the United States.
We can't really sugarcoat some of Charlie Kirk's more extreme views. He was not somebody who called for violence, but he certainly was at the edge of the MAGA movement, perhaps the vanguard. And there's a few examples.
Young women need to do a much better job of saving themselves for marriage. They need to they need to prioritize purity again. Young men need to too, but if young women do it, then young men will. If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? It almost creates thought patterns that are not necessarily wholesome. I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not what I believe. The man is the leader of the household. The man is the leader of all the financial decisions. The man is the primary, should be the primary provider. Again, there's exception to this. That's all. Oh, Charlie, you're so sexist. Sorry, it worked for 2,000 years, for 5,000 years, and it should work again.
You define another human being by the color of their skin, and you don't give them a chance yet to prove themselves, say anything. That is racist. And then when he makes statements about women should be this and that and this and that, well, what planet is this guy from? He emerges from some sort of cocoon to talk about what women should do, and he's got 2,000 years of history to prove it. Whose history?
The day prior to his assassination, he said Islam, the left was using Islam as a sword to slit the throat of Western civilization. I mean, that's pretty horrifying.
He 100% was provocative. I think most of the smartest people end up saying some pretty provocative things, and I think it's why people wanted so badly to have those debates with him.
So if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped, and she was going to give birth and she would and she was going to give birth and she was going to live, would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
But it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
Charlie Kirk strongly supported the right to own a gun, something enshrined in the US Constitution.
I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
A lot of people have asked me, what would Charlie Kirk say about his own death? And I can't speak for Charlie, but I believe that he would say that this was a cultural problem and not a gun problem. I don't think when people are getting assassinated for their views that we could just simply blame guns. I don't think it makes sense.
I would oppose a lot of the underlying traditional conservatism that he advocated for. I think a lot of it was hateful, a lot of it was dehumanizing, a lot of it was bigoted towards marginalized and vulnerable communities and populations, singling them out as the primary reason for why people experience economic hardships and why people experience any sort of economic anxiety. I, of course, find that not only morally repugnant, but I also vehemently disagree with it because I think it's incorrect in the simplest terms.
Charlie Kirk was the opposite of hateful. He wanted to talk to everybody about everything. He told people to their face, if I don't agree with your lifestyle, it doesn't mean I don't love you. It means that we have disagreements, but I don't hate anybody.
He must have tapped into something that a large number of people are feeling that's way down in the weeds somewhere, in sort of like an uncivilized place where you can't actually express it because it's just so off the wall.
You know, Charlie Kirk, he loved history. He devoured the ideas that formed the foundation of our civilization. He stood for a tradition that Socrates established 2,500 years ago, to question, to search, and to teach.
Charlie Kirk's rise came at a time of turbulence in the US. Far-right extremists held a rally in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
In the same year, the Me Too movement to tackle sexual violence and harassment went viral. Riots followed the murder of George Floyd by a police officer in Minneapolis in 2020. The politics of identity now centre stage.
When we talk about things like race, like immigration, the role of politics and the role of free speech, wokeism, all of these things are huge subjects online, and they're subjects that young people are really responding to in various different ways.
And so what Charlie Kirk did was sort of herd together all of those sort of insecurities that young men are feeling now toward women, toward what they think is inclusion that doesn't include them. So he's an example of a kind of Pied Piper of this sort of unconscious movement of young men saying, what about us, what about us?
The left has dominated culture for so long. They had, the feminist movement. We can blame that for destroying the nuclear home. We can blame that for destroying marriages in a lot of ways. But how do we kind of work backwards from that, kind of get back to like the core American values?
Well, the practical solution, we don't have to think. We need to point people to God and eventually to Jesus Christ, and that is the solution.
Kirk was not just a kind of influencer for Trump. He wasn't just a kind of intellectual influence on Trump. He wasn't just a great salesman. He was a central part of the MAGA family.
He was sort of the cheerleader for Trump among young people. He was one of the forces that got that demographic to vote for him.
Kirk really hit the national stage in a big way in 2016 when he spoke at the Republican National Convention.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Charlie Kirk, founder and executive director of Turning Point USA.
His support at that crucial juncture in the summer of 2016 for President Trump gave a lot of young people, gave them a sense that it was right to back President Trump.
The President-elect of the United States of America, Joe Biden.
But in 2020, Donald Trump lost. He accused his opponent of stealing the election. Mr. Trump was supported by Charlie Kirk.
He is someone who would frequently share false claims suggesting that the election had been stolen in some way in 2020 when Joe Biden won the election and Donald Trump didn't. And a lot of those narratives then went on to inspire unrest and violence in the real world in the form of the January the 6th riots that happened at the Capitol.
Charlie Kirk posted this tweet 2 days before the rally in Washington that preceded the riot. The event would likely be one of the largest and most consequential in American history, he said. The team at Trump Students and Turning Point Action are honoured to help make this happen, sending 80-plus buses full of patriots to DC to fight for this president. He later deleted the tweet.
Stop the steal! Stop the steal!
He was part of a campaign of misinformation which said that that election was stolen, when I suspect he knew, Donald Trump knows, that it wasn't. And that was a seminal moment of American democracy, where American democracy was weakened. It spread a toxin throughout American politics, and it continues to weaken it to this day.
As involved as he was in 16 and 20, he was really, really, really involved in 2024.
Donald Trump is president of the United States. We've got our republic back, folks. Remember where you were when this happened.
He wanted Donald Trump to win so badly, and watching him cry that night I mean, that'll stay in my head forever. He was, doing a live stream, watching the results with the rest of the country, with his fans, and started crying when he realized that he had done it, we had done it. I would say it's a combination of Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump that made being Republican cool.
September 10th, 2025. An event at Utah Valley University begins like many others before. A large crowd has gathered to see Charlie Kirk speak and take questions.
Get comfortable. Bring the best libs that Utah has to offer.
Then this.
Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years? Counting or not counting gang violence? Great.
Charlie Kirk is rushed to hospital, but his life cannot be saved.
I think I cried for about 6-7 hours straight. You can't get the clip out of your head, and then you realize the whole world is seeing it, and then his kids are probably going to see it, and I don't think any human being deserves to go out that way.
Oh my God.
Hassan Piker has attracted controversy himself over a variety of topics.
Holy dude.
He was live streaming when the shooting happened.
It was terrifying. It horrified me, seeing a person that I know just getting killed, especially a person who does exactly what I do on the opposing side.
For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now.
You have no idea the fire that you have ignited within this wife. The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry.
I think that he will clearly now be a martyr for MAGA, for his beliefs.
In Washington, there's shock.
This is horrific. This is awful. And the assassination of Charlie Kirk risks an uncorking of political chaos and violence that we cannot risk in America.
The chair would ask that all members present in the chamber and those in the gallery please rise for a moment of prayer for Charlie Kirk and his family.
In Congress, a moment of silence does not go as planned. There are jeers from Democrats and swearing from one Republican who tells them, "You all caused this."
Wait a minute.
Congratulations, you have been selected to receive the Resident Presidential Scholarship from Utah State University.
2 days after the shooting, a suspect is arrested. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson is a student on an electrical apprenticeship program. Prosecutors say they'll seek the death penalty.
Charlie Kirk got shot and he's dead!
Online, some celebrate the shooting.
Finally, somebody with a gun, which is almost everybody in the States, grew a pair, went and shot somebody on the right side.
Some of the reaction that I've seen is, it's been the worst part of the whole thing.
I do not feel bad for him in the slightest, and I'm very, very much wondering what MAGA is going to react with.
Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people.
Charlie Kirk was the best. He was a flower of a generation, and they shot him down like a dog, right, with a high-powered rifle because they knew that they could take us out. If we're going to stop it, let's stop it. And if it's not going to be stopped, let's at least go down fighting.
I mean, it was bad before, and it's certainly going to get worse after. The only thing that I see when I go on Twitter is death threats.
Around the world, there are expressions of support for Charlie Kirk. In London, portraits and banners are carried by some attending a protest organised by the far-right activist Tommy Robinson.
Charlie Kirk's murder was unjustifiable, abhorrent, and reprehensible. That does not stop the fact that many of his views were extreme.
In the US, Charlie Kirk's death sparks deep concern about an apparent proliferation of political violence.
Take a look at what happened.
It follows 2 assassination attempts on Donald Trump in 2024 and the killing of Melissa Hortman, a Democratic Party legislator in Minnesota, alongside her husband in 2025.
I'm terrified for America's future. I think liberalism is failing. It has been an abject failure, and people are responding to that. They're recognizing the system's collapsing in front of us, and they're responding to that in somewhat violent ways.
The dial has been turned up, not down, which is something that when there was political violence before, you'd at least feel like there was a mutual understanding that killing people for what they believe in or say is not acceptable. It doesn't feel like that's the case anymore, certainly if you hang out on social media like I do.
I most likely will not be doing any public events for a little bit, but of course, as soon as the temperature dies down, or the temperature cools down, I will go back to business as usual. And the reason why I say that is because there is a risk associated with what we do.
There are concerns too that Charlie Kirk's death will lead to a crackdown on free speech.
We're firing people. We're seeing people online who are posting hate speech. They should be shut down. They should be stopped from doing this, and they should know there are consequences for your actions.
They very quickly turned around and said, this is war. We have to start doxing people that are not sufficiently grieving Charlie Kirk. We have to make sure that these people lose their jobs. That's, of course, cancel culture.
Which is obviously especially troubling or especially ironic, given that the thing that we're constantly told Kirk stood for above everything else was free debate and freedom of speech.
So it does feel like we're at a real turning point, actually, in terms of where America goes with its attitude towards freedom of expression, absolute freedom of expression, and what language can cause harm and what we allow and don't allow.
11 days after the shooting, tens of thousands of Charlie Kirk supporters gather in Phoenix, Arizona to remember him. Inside, conservatives from all over the US hear a message of forgiveness.
On the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him.
From President Trump comes a different tone.
He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent, and I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry.
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith.
I think Charlie Kirk's legacy will be whatever this administration chooses it to be.
He will be remembered for his work ethic, for his ability to communicate a vision for what it means to be a conservative.
It feels to me that the next few years are going to be maybe as important as any period in the history of the United States, perhaps since the Civil War itself.
America will survive. I just don't know if she'll be what she could have been.